Hi, it's a hot day, but mostly it's been cloudy today, and I'm hoping the cloud thickens up a bit because at the moment the sun is shining more than I would like it to. I'm trying to photograph kingfisher, and this is my usual way of photographing kingfishers. All you've got to do is find yourself a brand new perch, and I quite like that little post that I just found. And then you've got to prop it up in the water, and I used a Christmas tree stand. So you buy these from hardware stores, B&Q, places like that, just for holding your real Christmas tree up in your house. That's what they're designed for. That's very useful. And just put that in the middle of the water, fill it with stones, and put your post in there, and it holds it up nice and quick. Saves having to bang it in with a hammer, which is hard work. And the idea is, you only put that post up when you're ready to photograph. In fact, often I do it in reverse. I put the hide up first, put all my camera gear up, put the hide up, and then I put the post up afterwards, because on more than one occasion I've put a post up, and as I'm putting the hide up, a kingfisher lands on the post. Now you might think that kingfishers are very nervous and shy birds, but they are not. They're very confident, and so long as the bulk of my body was hidden behind the hide, they just came and landed on the post. And you might have heard fishermen talk about the way that kingfishers will land on the end of their fishing rods, or even on the head. If a fisherman's got his hood up on his coat and he's sitting there, kingfisher can land on their heads. These are not fishermen's tales. This will actually happen. They are very confiding birds. So I've just got to sit here and cool down for a start. The sun is shining at the moment, and when you're in these polyester hides, the sun on the wall of the hide here is like a radiator. It gets very, very hot, so I need the sun to go behind the cloud from a heat point of view, but also I don't want this harsh sunlight on the bird. It's the month of August, it's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now by 4 o'clock the sun will be low enough that it will work photographically, and as the sun drops lower in the sky, but I would rather have it cloudy bright any day of the week. Now I just have to sit here and wait. Unfortunately, I like sitting in hides. You see far more wildlife while you're sitting quietly in a hide than ever you do if you walk about in the countryside. Now the idea of this post, I've put it up in the middle of the stream. The kingfisher cannot access the water in the middle of the stream. There's nowhere for it to perch. It can perch on the sides, and there's some trees that way and trees downstream as well. But here it can't fish. It's got no access to it. So the next time that kingfisher flies along this river here, it will see that post and it will go and land on it. It works a very high percentage of the time. It's like a magnet to a kingfisher. They cannot resist a brand new perch because they can now fish over that bit of water. Now I can't emphasize enough, it needs to be a new perch. Don't put it up yesterday. Don't get caught up in the idea the kingfisher needs to get used to the perch. It doesn't. It wants to be new. That's when it works like a magnet. It's a new fishing area. It can't resist it. The hide won't bother it at all. In fact, the biggest thing that will likely to go wrong is the kingfisher will land on top of my hide, and I'll be able to see its feet imprints against the sunlight here. I just completed my bit to camera, and the kingfisher landed on the perch. I would say that was about 6 minutes, and that is not unusual for kingfishers. I know there's kingfishers on this river, but I haven't photographed them for several years now. I've done them in other places, but here it's been several years since I did them. It's just a very reliable method of photographing kingfishers. Now when it dived into the water, it came immediately back to the perch without a fish in its bill, so it didn't catch anything the first dive, but it very quickly dived again, and then it didn't come back to the perch, it flew off. I don't know whether it caught something, but there's no shortage of fish. From where it's sitting, it could probably see 100 fish, quite easily, and that's my eyesight. In fact, a kingfisher's eyesight is going to be better. So there's a good chance it will come back and use this perch. The light was too harsh, and I'm still hoping for it to cloud over a bit.
This is the harsh midday light that I'm never very keen on, but later on in the session the bird came back when it had clouded over, and it's a much softer light. I've got the 150 to 400mm OM zoom on, and so I'm going to make good use of that. I'm going to do the birds vertically, horizontally, small in the frame, big in the frame, everything that I can think of. And looking in every direction too. I like this one because he's up in the air, showing the legs. Often kingfishers don't, they're sort of squatting down. Couple of things worth mentioning. People tend to assume that kingfishers are quite big birds. They're not. They're very small, about the size of your hand. And so it is possible to misjudge it and not put the hide close enough. In this case, the hide was about 3.5 meters from the perch, and with the 150 to 400mm lens, that gives me plenty of scope. Secondly, the eye is the crucial bit to get sharp. You have to focus on the eye, and with modern cameras they're doing that automatically. If you haven't got subject detection, then you need to carefully place the focusing point on the eye. If the tip of the tail is not quite sharp, nobody will notice, but they will notice the eye. Here, both the eye and the tip of the tail are sharp, and that's because the bird has turned his head over his shoulder just sufficiently. They're both on the same focal plane. It's the perfect pose. In this image, the kingfisher is leaning forward a little bit, so the tip of the tail is not quite sharp. Probably hard to tell on YouTube, but it's not quite there. So you might want to think about closing the aperture down. A couple of stops should do it. Increase your depth of field, and then the bird is sharp throughout. But then, of course, more of the background comes into focus, and there may be distractions there that you don't like. So it's a balance. Which is the most important to you? The all black bill tells us this is a male kingfisher. And I did one short length of a slow motion video, and this is it. At this point you can see he's seen a fish and he's off, and I left the camera running. I could just about hear the splash in the water, but the microphone didn't pick it up, and he came back. Now what he's supposed to do now is stun the fish before he swallows it, but he wasn't doing a very good job. Thanks for watching.